Welcome to Lemoore City Council Chambers, 429 C Street, February 15th, 2022. So this is our special meeting agenda. Please silence all electronic devices. It is as a courtesy to those in attendance. Thank you very much. This is going to be our 5 p.m. study session. That's S1, 2021 Public Safety and Annual Reports from a Mr. Kendall and a Mr. German. Well, I guess we'll go with Mr. Kendall first.
No, we're going with Mr. German.
I take that back. We're going to go with Mr. German first.
Good evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. This is, I'm sure you guys all have a copy of this.
Yes,
Okay,
and it's in front of us.
okay. You guys just want me to read it to you? It's pretty short and sweet.
Whatever you feel like is necessary.
Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department. This is the 2021 Annual Fire Report. It's comprised of 33 volunteer members, 10 of which are certified emergency.
Hey, Bruce, can you wait for 1 minute?
Sure.
Sorry, Mr. Gornick. These guys all voted against you to start the meeting. I took roll and I was not a part of it.
I wasn't either, because you didn't ask me.
We're sorry. We didn't know if
Hey,
you
did we see
were.
that bus, Jim?
Yeah, that bus had a name on the side. It's called Stu.
No, I was underneath.
And I don't know if it's polite or not, but the mayor is a liar.
That's it, Bruce. You're fired.
Thank you.
You can stop volunteering your time today.
Yeah.
I don't think
Cut
that bothers him as much as
Cut
you
my
think.
final check, please. 2021 Annual Fire Report. The Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department is comprised of 33 volunteer members, 10 of which are certified emergency medical technicians. 24 hold their firefighter 1 certificate and 19 hold their firefighter 1 and 2 certificate. We had 8 firefighters complete the EMT program and are awaiting testing. LVFD strives to provide the community with the best fire protection service possible. In 2021, the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department responded to a total of 2,092 incidents. The chart below shows a breakdown of the incident calls for 2020, which should be 2021. Also on the back page, it actually shows you what is what. It says the following table highlights the average number of volunteers responding per incident by incident category. Fire, we had an average of 17, medical was 10, hazardous condition is 10. As you can see, it just goes on down the list. In addition to responding to incidents, LVFD participated in 93 trainings and events in 2021. We had to modify the mandatory drill meetings to stagger crews to meet the COVID-19 guidelines for the first half of 2021. We were able to return to normal drill meetings in June. The public service activities we participated included 100th anniversary celebration at LVFD, National Night Out, Christmas Parade, Memorial Flag Raising for fallen officers, Easter egg hunt at Fox Station, 4th of July Parade, Pops with Cops, Battle of the Badges Blood Drive, trick or treating at the station, presence on patrol, and numerous drive-by birthday parties. The Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department Association, we held our first annual charity golf tournament in the spring of 2021 and raised $30,500 to donate to the Leon S. Peters Burn Center in Fresno. With the increase in response to medical calls and the COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines, LVFD was able to adapt and overcome this pandemic. Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department takes pride in the ability to serve the great community that is Lemoore and appreciate the opportunity to do so. Respectfully submitted, Bruce German. Comments, questions?
Great report. I'm very learned a lot from looking at this, but one of the things I was, and maybe I missed it when I came in 1 minute late. But when you look at that pie chart that you have for services, where do you get your budget?
Where do we get our budget? From the city.
Okay, so it's an item that's out of our general fund.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no assessment from residents in terms of providing that that service.
Not currently. We do not. Now, I do believe we do have the ability, if we get like repeat calls to a same house, we could pass something if council so choose to go that route, but currently we're not doing that.
We do if it's if we just keep, as he said, if we keep going back and going back for, Stuart, what's the word we usually use?
Habitual.
Just basically stupid calls for the
Re-
same
repeat
person and
offenders,
everything
yeah.
else. We, after 3 times, we start fining them $50.
Okay, well.
And I mean, the $50, that even when you tell them $50, it gets their attention most of the time.
Well, I was just looking at it from a point of view of, have we ever talked about assessing a small fee for either, I mean, we've got some big operations here in the, we've got Leprino, we've got other agencies that I don't know, I'm not talking about a big tax. I'm just talking about something that might do that. I don't know. Just, I still like to keep it a volunteer, but you never know. I mean, as far as the city's budget goes, your costs keep going up.
Yeah.
Like anything else. And just like homeowners' costs go. And that's-
Exactly. Well, I don't know if this place say it or not, but I know Officer Chief Kendall, it's just force of habit. I've known Mike for so long. It's always been Officer Kendall. But I know we've discussed the dispatch center
That was my
multiple
next
times.
question. That was my next question. So
Oh.
please go ahead.
Okay, but to change the 2,000 calls a year is killing us, bottom line. And we've discussed getting the trained dispatchers in there that can ask the question as the call comes in, and they can make the decision whether they dispatch us or not. Right now, we had the same issues with Kings County Dispatch, and we have the same issue with Hanford Dispatch now, is none of their dispatchers are trained to make that call. And they're not going to go out on the limb and say, no, they're not going to call us. They tell us, we will dispatch you to every call that we get. And then the ambulance company will call us back and say, we're responding code 2 or 1, or you are not needed. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, a bunch of us are already up on our way down, and we get that call that we're canceled, but we still turn around, we go home, but we're still basically wide awake. But like I said, I know he has the same issue also, that they need PD trained, and we need med trained
Well, that was, when
dispatchers.
I looked at the number of incidents that were health related, that was one of the questions that I had. That you're expected to handle all those, but evidently we work with some kind of an ambulance agency, huh? Or
American.
something like that.
American ambulance, yes.
To me, those are a reasonable cost for our citizens to bear, rather than just coming out of the general fund, out of other assessments. And what I'm saying is that we've got 2 issues on this call center. We've got police and we've got fire.
Correct.
And we're talking about filling those positions. I still have yet to see a budget on what it's going to cost to stand that up. And all I'm saying is that, we just keep adding things without realizing where the money's coming from. And we've got to decide to do something about it. I mean, to keep the quality up, that's all.
I mean, we're not gonna stop doing what we're gonna do.
No, I
We're
understand
gonna,
that.
we're gonna moan and groan and complain about it
We
all
want to
we
keep it doing it.
can.
We want to keep it
but-
doing it better, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the revenue stream is,
One more time.
it's a revenue stream.
Yeah.
It increases like anything else.
Exactly. So
Now, do we get anything from American or any kind of?
we get,
something back for that? I guess
they,
it's gonna,
they're called ambulance fines, and
exactly.
Nathan, they got to respond within 10 minutes, is that right? Or 3 minutes or 5? There's a time limit that they've got to at least acknowledge that they're coming and respond.
And if they don't, then
And-
they pay a fee to the city, and that fee goes back into their training and their support equipment.
And I'll just say this while I've got the opportunity. It's aggravating because they'll give us checks periodically through the year, but Nathan, and I know I caused trouble last time I was back there, and I'm just, anyway, the city will not release that money to me in that year. It rolls over into my next year's budget, correct?
Yep.
So
Funds in.
when I get that $8,000 ambulance fee, whatever, I'm like, oh boy, and it's like, no, you'll get it next year in your budget. So it's kind of, it's kind of aggravating because there's,
Yes.
you know, there's some funds there that I could use to do what I
Did
wanted
open
to
a
do.
can of worms?
Yeah, we just want to
Yeah.
aggravate you
Sorry.
more. that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I
So,
know.
so to clarify that a little bit, what happens is the city receives a revenue, all our revenues, and they get put into the proper accounts in the general fund. So in this case, those dollars are allocated for specific purposes within the fire department. So when we do the budget the following year and the ask comes for A, B, and C items, we will go to that account and say, okay, well, to fund that, we're pulling this $8,000 to put over here. So it absolutely goes back into the account for which it's intended to go, but it's not like
It's
a
not
slush
immediate.
fund or extra money.
It's
so to
not
speak.
immediate,
It's
though.
part of the overall budget for the
Yeah.
city.
And he is right. The way it is written up, it's for us only. The city,
Yeah,
I don't want to say
mean,
the
that's
city
not
can't
fair.
use it, but it is designated for us.
But it's a revenue stream is what I was really, at the end of the
That's
day,
right, yeah.
how it gets divvied up at the end of the day, to answer, I think Frank's question is, there is a revenue stream connected to nowhere near, if 8,000 is the number, there's nowhere near 1,749 medical aid calls at $8,000. That's $7 $6
Sure.
it's not,
Yeah.
it's
And
peanuts.
Nathan, it's 12 or 13,000 total probably per year.
I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I think
I don't
that's-
remember off the top of my head.
Yeah,
That's-
we
Still
get
$10
it. Yeah,
that's
we
$10
get
a
it.
call.
Yeah,
It's
we
not-
get it. We
it's-
get 2 or 3 checks a year.
And that's
Yeah.
only if they don't show up or they don't.
Yeah.
make
If
it
who
in time
doesn't
frame.
show up?
The ambulance service. So there's times we'll get a call for medical aid and our fire department will roll and get there and take care of everything. And the ambulance company just doesn't have available personnel or a vehicle.
And that's,
They have to pay us for not going to that call.
and that's the only time that's the revenue.
Or
stream,
unless
Or
the
if they're-
time
or
limit
they're-
expires and they don't get there in
Yeah.
in the 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
the
whatever that
limit-
time
okay.
limit is. then yes, they
You know,
pay.
everybody uses COVID, but COVID has really screwed everybody up this last 18 months.
So how does that number compare this year? Let's say not the last year, because that was
Par.
COVID year.
We
too. How about the year before?
gain about 150 calls a year.
You gained about-
125 additional calls. Yeah,
Okay.
we were always, when I got in back in 1988, I think we had 256 calls.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
yeah, that's where we're at now.
Horse drawn
So-
carriages.
And even back then, we were complaining about all the
What?
calls we had.
Chief, what is your total budget that you operate under? You got that off the top of your head?
I'm gonna say 550 to 575
It's just over
because
600.
Because right now, if you look at it, it says 600, 617, but that's because Homeland Security grants, AFG grants, the city is on the hook for 10% of them, 20% of them.
Mhm.
So that money has got to be put into the budget to cover that if I get the grants. If I don't get the grants, then I don't get that money. Correct? More or less?
Well,
So you're looking at
Yeah.
somewhere between 600 and 800 grand,
No,
800,000.
No.
Closer to
550 to
five.
It's
650.
550 to
No, but I
575.
mean, as things, next year it'll be increased and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah. You're counting on stuff. You're counting on money that you're gonna get from the state.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm talking about,
And
That's
also
awesome.
when the monies that is allocated for those budgets or for those grants, obviously I don't see them. They go to the state for me to get whatever it is I put in for the grant for. So it's just, it's on a line, but
I hear you.
one other thing I wanted to say is, I'll have Faith, who's our secretary, and I tell everybody she's the real chief. She tells us what to do. But I'll have her call Kings County Public Health every once in a while and say what's going on. And then when they were handing out, talking about the new, the home kits for the COVID testing, I had her call and say, when can we just get a bunch of them? And obviously we can't, anyway. But I just wanted to share it with you. She said that Kings County Public Health has talked about the Omicron strain now, and that the kids, she said probably 14 and under, that it's causing them to have seizures and abdominal pain. And we've gotten a lot of calls on that. And the parents kids have never had, my daughter or my son has never had a seizure before. And so that's one of the symptoms of it. And they say the abdominal pain is almost like appendicitis pain. Even now we're having, used to, they would call us out and say it's COVID positive. But we are still having it, but not like we did, but we're having a lot of difficulty breathings. And that's the COVID of the Omicron now in the older people. So, but other than that, that's all I got.
Thank
We're
you.
good. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thanks, Brucey.
Brucey.
Oh, sorry. One more thing.
Yeah, one more thing.
One more thing.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah, the air packs, you guys allowed that, granted that to us last week or several weeks ago. And we are, after thinking about it, we want to do it the right way. So we are having a meeting tonight with our association meeting. We're going to put it in our minutes that this is what we're going to do, blah, 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 blah. So that if 5 years from now or whatever, and it comes back, everything's legit. It's not going to be a problem. I'll place the order for them tomorrow. But that's where we're at, is just going to make sure it goes correctly. I do know that quote I gave you guys last time was 323 or 24, whatever it was, Mary. And so whenever I called the company, I said, is there anything else that I need to make this work? And the only thing else we can come up with, our compressors right now are threaded. The bottles we're getting are going to be a quick connect. And I had them give me the adapters to adapt it from that threaded to the deal. So it did increase the budget. It did increase the quote just a touch more.
How much more? And how long will it take?
324 to 326.
Oh,
Yeah.
how long are we looking?
They say 45 to 60 days, so I'm saying 60 to 90.
Okay.
You know, every time I ask him about it, he tells me 45 to 60, but I'm, again, just the way everything else goes, I'm going to say 60 to 90.
And when you get them, can you obviously Nathan will know and all that, can it be brought back to us when we?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, more than likely, I'll actually throw one on a cart and bring it over here. and
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
I'd
I'll
really
have-
like to see.
I'll
that,
have Stuart put it on for you
That'd
guys.
even be better. I'd
Yeah.
actually like to see two of them, so
Sure.
we can look that program that allows you to see where the
Yes,
two people are at or whatever,
yeah, the hub.
that
Yeah.
thing. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I might have to bring some young guy over because I'm not gonna know how to use it.
I'm not gonna know how to use it.
Okay,
Motion
thanks.
for Stuart to do
Well,
it.
look
Yeah,
what I'm
thanks,
doing.
everybody.
Thanks.
Bye, Brucey.
Bye, Bruce.
He told me once upon a time that only his mom calls him that, so that was the wrong thing to say to me.
Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this is our 2021 annual report. And for members of the public, it is up on our website. You can view it at any time. And we're not going to be taking it down anytime soon. It's 25 pages long, and I'm going to try to keep us within some type of time frame. But I won't make any guarantees. So starting with our operations division, traffic enforcement saw a decrease from the 1,442 citations we issued in 2020. In 2021, officers issued a total of 1,089 traffic citations. They issued 333 warning citations, 508 moving violations, and 133 parking citations. Our traffic division, we also had 95 traffic accidents in 2021. This was down from the 99 the year prior. And this has been a continuing trend over the last 6 years. We also had 92 DUI arrests last year compared to 89 the year prior. Overall, calls of service were down last year. The Lemoore Police Department responded to 39,633 calls for service. Response time for priority 1 calls for service was 3 minutes, 49 seconds. And we averaged a response time of 5 minutes and 37 seconds for all calls for service. Onto some crime stats. We made a total of 1,594 arrests last year. This was about 100 more than the year prior. Felony cases were up from last year by 44 for a total of 684, and misdemeanor cases were down somewhat significantly by 323 for a total of 1,643. As I reported out last council meeting, we did see a rise in reported auto thefts with a total of 76 reported stolen. We also saw a significant rise in overall theft cases. This is a problem throughout the state of California with stolen vehicles and catalytic converters being on the rise. Moving on to the sport division, our detective division was assigned 260 cases. They had 55 arrests and had a clearance rate of 98%. This is up from last year of a 92% clearance rate. We did investigate 2 homicides in 2021. Detectives identified a suspect in each respective case and subsequently arrested each of them. Both cases are currently awaiting to go to trial. Our evidence technician, Elizabeth Halstead, also falls within our detective division. She processed over 6,000 items of evidence and received a total of 16,761 body worn videos that need to be retained and processed accordingly. Our youth development officers continue to be busy at the schools. Officer Perkins, assigned to the high schools, was involved in 761 incidents and had 97 investigations. Officer Escobar, assigned to the elementary schools and the middle school, was involved in 675 incidents and investigated 94 cases. Our community service officers handled 1,360 calls for service last year, 201 property maintenance, 110 vehicle abatement, 282 weed abatement, and conducted 767 compliance checks. Animal control handled 1,811 calls for service. This was significantly up from last year by 595 calls for service and up 873 animal control calls for service from 2019. So we're seeing a big rise in animal control cases. Our reserve officer program continues to be successful. Our reserve officers worked 5,937 hours, responded to 4,864 calls for service, and made 276 arrests. 4 of those reserve police officers ultimately were hired on full-time last year. And the last thing I'll report out on tonight is our community outreach during 2021. Our PAL program continues to grow, and our Explorer program is back up and running since having to place them on hold due to COVID. Along with National Night Out and Red Ribbon Week, which set record numbers for attendance, we started new programs and expanded others. Santa for Seniors was ran as a pilot program. We're going to continue that on this year, just based on the response. It was very well received. We were able to reach 65 families and 215 children during Reason for the Season, 11 families and 30 children during Presence on Patrol. And then Ice Pops with the Cops was a successful new program, even though they make me say it a couple times. And we will continue our shoe drive and lockbox program for 2022. Without the help of our volunteers in policing who donated 3,616 hours last year, none of these programs would have been so successful. And then lastly, I just want to thank our executive assistant, Valerie Caceres, for putting together this report. I tell her every year that I don't know how she's going to top the last one, but she somehow finds a way. So with that, I will answer any questions you may have.
So if somebody goes to Best Buy Market, walks out with 4 T-bone steaks and decides not to pay,
Mhm.
what do we do? Do we arrest them? Do we just file charges to get released?
Just depends. If we're able to capture them, say we saw them running down the road, we're able to capture them. Depends on the cost of how much meat that they do take, because that does happen a lot. And so if it meets the nature of a grand theft, we'll arrest them and we'll book them. If it's not, we will typically take the case and submit it up to the DA's office, but
It's a repeat offender.
yeah,
Some
and
other
so if it's a repeat offender, they'll get charged a little bit differently if they have, multiple theft cases.
I had a citizen ask me that question yesterday. I didn't know what the
Yeah,
answer was.
yeah. Anything else?
Our police cars, the ones we ordered, have we
Uh-huh.
heard anything, how they have come along with that?
Yeah, they're getting painted right now. They're supposed to be finishing up, and then they're finishing up the title work right now. So because they bought them from an outside vendor,
Mm.
and so they just got to get the title paperwork taken care of on their end before we get them.
Hopefully
Paint
within the next 30 days.
the same color, right?
Right, same color.
How about the motorcycle, the end of watch motorcycle?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Up and running. We just got it back. We've been really struggling with some of the electrical work on it. And it
It's a
was,
Harley.
it was really it was really they graciously donated it to us, right? And our rules and regulations for California is different than Washington. So we had to upgrade the lighting system. We have to have a forward facing red, on a traffic stop. So getting that wiring integrated in there. We're having some battery issues with it just now, but we got it back. It's up and running right now.
So when can you who rides it and what hours is he out there riding it? Just out of curiosity.
So we're going to try doing something a little bit different right now. Our motor officer, he'll ride it whenever he wants to ride it. But some of our previous traffic enforcement officers, we're going to give them the option of if their sergeant has the staffing and wants to cut one loose to go start doing traffic enforcement, we're going to do that as well, just to give us a little bit more presence out there.
I don't know. All right. Well,
So I want another question. I asked the chief this about the call center. So what do you estimate the number of staff to be in that call center and training?
Ultimately, it'd be the most optimal to have 8 dispatchers, right? Because you're gonna need a supervisor. You're gonna need, I'd love to have 1 or 2 on per shift and running the same 12-hour shift that we run our patrol officers. I'd also like to look at what I fully intend on implementing a reserve dispatcher program and trying to mirror it the same way that we do our reserve officer program, because it's been pretty widely successful for us as far as reserve, to officers go. We could target both those wanting to get into the field and those that may have retired out of the field, but are still looking for
Something to
some
do.
additional
Pick up a
work,
shift or something.
and that gives us some experience on the back end as well as some new on the front end.
What's your estimate in terms of your total budget and also the budget for a call center?
I honestly think, all the equipment, everything that
No, I meant operational costs.
just as far as the
Personnel.
operational costs, I think we're gonna be able to do this for somewhere around $600,000. Somewhere, probably less than that. That's basically what the fire department and us and the city, public works and whatnot, paying Hanford right now. And we're essentially just gonna take that money and keep it here.
Okay, and that's your estimate about the 8 full timers.
That gets us around 6. And like I said, we could do it with 6. It's more optimal to run it with
With
8.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, we would obviously like a supervisor there, you know, at all times. Or a lead worker versus we're going to just have one dispatch supervisor.
Right.
But yeah,
And is that what you currently work off right now is 2 dispatchers?
so there's
No.
a dispatcher and there's a call taker. So you have a call taker who's talking to the person on the phone, typing on that information in. She's sending it over to the dispatcher while she's still getting more information in. So you can start getting that information out to the officers to start heading that way. So you're right. Sometimes there isn't that staffing and the dispatcher is doing double duty, call taker duty and trying to get that information out to the officers as well.
Are those calls recorded and transcribed
Correct. They're recorded. They're not
With the new tech-
automatically transcribed.
with the new technology? We don't have a transcription in that?
No, it's just being recorded.
But I mean, there is transcription.
We could, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. And then
What's stopping us from doing that?
the request to do it, time, the money. You know, if we get a request to do it, like, a lot of times we'll
Well,
have
I
to,
mean, automatically, you know, as those calls come in, you look at these call centers now, they have that automatic backup in terms of recording and transcribing each call that comes in, time stamped, everything.
yeah, and I'm sure it's just it's really just going to come down to the overall cost. You know,
Are you talking about paper transcribing it?
It's digitally transcribed.
But, okay.
It
Okay.
could be if you want to.
Well, no, I thought you were referring to digital or to actually printing it out on a piece of paper.
You could do that, but it's digitally.
a lot of times we just do it on a
Because that'd be
request basis.
expensive.
A lot of times, like the DA's office will ask us for the actual 911 call.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when they ask us, they make that request, we'll just transcribe it in-house.
It's just like your voice messages on your phone. They're recorded. If you want to transcribe it, you print it out.
Sure.
It's the same.
Mhm.
The capability is there.
If the
It just
capability's there, right.
has to be requested. It's probably a cheaper way of doing it, the way they do it that way than to automatically transcribe every call. Because there's probably thousands of calls that don't need to be transcribed.
Well, about 40,000 calls for service a year.
So
So
there's probably 35,000 that don't need to be transcribed. I was kidding about the motorcycle. I love it. I was just trying to be funny.
Wrong crowd.
Bad timing.
Yeah.
My apologies.
There's bad timing.
I just want to thank the police department for all that you guys do. Being like, I saw some of it, you know, as a citizen, but being on council, I could really see even so much more that I didn't know that you guys do, and your volunteers in policing. I don't know if every city has that, but ours are pretty awesome. I've been able to volunteer with them numerous times, and they're great people that truly have a heart for the city. I also we're very blessed to have the police department, the fire department that we have here in our city to help serve us. But I also wanted to make another comment where I don't know if we just have a great dental plan or what, but all of our officers have amazing teeth. I don't know if anybody else noticed that.
I don't think I've ever noticed that.
I
but
didn't
thank
either
you.
until I'm going through this presentation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they all have these bright, beautiful smiles.
No, you're right. It's the dental plan.
It is. It must be the dental plan.
Well, I did ask Valerie not to put that picture in there of me, and she elected to do it anyway.
I love that picture
All
on
right,
page
all right.
2.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
best picture.
I was not overly
was saying,
impressed with it, but
Can we see it?
I
Yeah,
like
she's-
the
Oh,
she's
right,
finding
she's
it.
finding
She's
it now.
There it is.
Yeah.
it's
There it is.
usually a little headshot. That was not, that wasn't
That's
sufficient for her this year. I don't know why.
That's your
But-
top gun. That's your
I
top
want,
gun.
I want to say that.
We're gonna get the cardboard cutouts.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
One other comment, Chief. I ask you these questions because I don't want you to settle for just settling for the mediocre aspect of something. If we're going to build a call center and there's technology available for us to get it. As a council member, I want to know what the ideal cost is or what the total cost is. I can separate whether or not we can afford it or not.
Absolutely.
But in terms of what your needs are
Right.
for public safety and to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the department, I want to know those costs. So I don't want you to choke up on a request
No,
if you think it's essential. So
no,
that's my only.
no. And
Okay.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Okay.
I really don't. And I think the way that we're going to build this out, it's truly going to be state of the art.
Yeah, it's our job to find the resources for you.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see here. Do I gotta open that for public comment?
You can ask me when it's on.
All right, well, even though Chief German's already gone, does any member of the public have a question for Chief Kendall regarding his stellar report made by Val? Yes, Mr. Reed.
Beautiful picture.
I'm Reed for Lemoore. I just have a question of what is the response time compared to other cities of similar size and then within the county?
Mr. Reed, I honestly do not know, but I will find out for you.
Okay, so no further questions. So that's going to go ahead and conclude our 5 o'clock study session. And I guess we don't really have to adjourn. We're just going to go straight into our 5:30 regular session. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and stand for invocation. And at the end of invocation, we're going to go ahead and turn to the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Can all bow our heads and close our eyes for a moment of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this beautiful city and the people within it, Father, and this team before me, Father, that you have charged with the responsibility of leading and making decisions for what is best for your people, Father. So Lord, sensitize them to hear your voice, Father, encourage and enable and empower them to be all you've called them to be, Father, and continue to bless our beautiful city. And yes, our fire department, our police department, and those that serve us, Father, a double portion of blessing upon them as well. And we pray all these things in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and all God's people said, amen. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Ash. Nice
Thank
to
you
see you
very
back
much.
in council.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Councilmember Ort,
Here.
Councilmember Gornick,
Sure.
Councilmember Cheney,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Matthews.
Here.
And Mayor Lyons.
Here.
Thank
Oh, yeah,
you.
roll call, by the way. Okay. So agenda approval and additions and or deletions.
There are none.
There are none. Okay. So that's going to take us into public comment. Public comment will be in accordance with the attached policy. This time is reserved for members of the audience to address the city council on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. It is recommended that the speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on items on the agenda. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda. Prior to addressing the council, any handouts for council will be provided to the city clerk for distribution to the council and appropriate staff. Public comments will be available for items on the agenda. That being said, is there any member of the public who's got a, here we go. We got a kind of power first public comment. Please, your name and address.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
Haven't seen you in a while.
I know it's been a while.
I
I'm
know.
nervous. I feel like a
A rookie, huh?
newbie again. Yeah, a rookie. Hello, my name is Susie Banuelos. I reside on Cedar Lane here in Lemoore. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak. And first, I would like to unequivocally state that I proudly and wholeheartedly support all of our first responders. And my family is a huge supporter of the men and women of the Lemoore Police Department. I want to make that absolutely very, very clear. That being said, I have great concern with our Lemoore PD's new policy of not releasing the booking photos. Lemoore PD seems to be the only law enforcement agency in the entire Central Valley who is taking that stand on, I think it's AB 1475, 1745. I had it written down on my other notes. I apologize. The citizens of California and specifically Lemoore and Kings County are already hamstrung by the laws and policies enacted by Sacramento legislators and an ill-informed statewide electorate. Many of the people arrested locally are serial offenders who are booked and released. We deserve to see the faces that are returned to our community. A local news station even reported on our department's lack of response to requests for booking photos. In the report, our city manager was quoted as saying, he doesn't want to open the city up to lawsuits because of AB 1475. There it is. I knew I had the numbers right. Well, I ask you, what is more of a liability to our city? AB 1475, which the penalty for posting a booking photo on a law enforcement social media page is only removing it, which is not what we're asking. We're asking that it be posted to the media. And it's also in accordance with public records law to release it to the media. Or a city employee arrested for DUI while driving a city vehicle and having a city on-call phone. My question is, sorry, I was reading that from memory. Is the city looking out for all of the residents and all of our property and our taxes, or only the tax money that we contribute directly to the city itself? That's all I have. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Benuelos. Is there any other public comment? Any online? None? Okay, moving on from public comment to ceremonial presentations. Seeing none, that we're going to go ahead and go to department and city manager reports.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Just one thing I received this morning from Assemblyman Salas's office regarding AB 1642. They're looking for a letter of support from the city. Basically, what this law does is it exempts any new wells that need to be dug for disadvantaged communities, or even say us in Lemoore, if we had a well fail, it exempts the sequel process to save thousands of dollars and months and sometimes years going through the sequel process. So Assemblyman Salas is looking for our letter of support. We typically have been asked to bring these to council for approval, but I just received it after we didn't have 24 hours to post it. So I intend on, unless you guys tell me not to, I intend on sending this letter out to the assemblyman tomorrow.
I'm good.
Yep.
You need to.
That's it. Thank you.
Well, I've got some concerns with it. You know, we have sitting on the groundwater board, you know, we have some issues with our local county of not approving transfers of water out of the, or they allow transfers of water out of the county. They don't have an ordinance on the books. You know, there's a lot of other issues that he could certainly help us with. I don't know if that's so you, if you want to do it, you go ahead, but I would say no, I don't support that right now.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Sue. Or thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So
One of that, how about the request that was made here at the podium? Are we going to respond to any of that?
Department. Right now, you're at department reports.
Pardon me?
Right now, you're at department reports, department head reports.
Okay, so when we get to department head reports, we can talk about that.
Well, Nathan just gave his report. I would recommend that the city manager contact the resident and
Ms. Benuelos.
update her. Ms. Benuelos.
Well, why can't we talk about it now with the city manager?
It's not an agendized item.
I know it's not. But
Correct.
I guess I have a question with our instructions to the public. So when does the public get an opportunity to talk about an agendized item? We give them specific instructions if I'm. hearing
Right,
them
at
right.
the
it's agenda.
agendas, yeah, at the agendized, when the agendized item is called, it's, the mayor opens it up to the public for comment or questions.
But there's no instructions in our, to the public that say the public can talk about an agendized item at the time the agenda is brought up in the meeting.
Yeah, and that's just an agenda construction matter. It's,
And it's a way of of not being
sure.
clear to the public.
sure. And so one way to remedy that is to have an agenda that outlines, okay, council questions, comments, then open it up to the public, then bring it back to council. Those are steps, but typically I mean, you're right, the public, if we want to let the public know that that's when they comment, that's when they can comment. Or it can be a statement the mayor makes at the beginning of the meeting as well. There's a number of ways to address it.
Yeah, I think in the initial instructions, the appropriate way to do it, but at
Sure.
least gives the public an opportunity that they can still talk about an agenda item. They don't necessarily have to come to the podium right now, but they can.
Sure, yeah, and your public comment period, when it's not a special meeting, they actually aren't supposed to talk about things that are agendized for exactly that purpose, because they'll have the opportunity to talk about it when the item is called.
Okay.
Any other reports?
Mm-mm.
Okay, moving on to the consent calendar, section 3. Items considered routine in nature are placed on the consent calendar. They will be considered and voted upon in one vote as one item unless a council member or a member of the public requests individual consideration. 3-1, approval of the minutes of regular meeting, February 1, 2022. 3-2, approval of a specialized utility services program, the SUSP. The proposal for chief plant operator. 3-3, approval for resolution 2022-06 to review and renew the declaration of local emergency and the related declarations and orders therein. 3-4, approval of resolution 2022-07, authorizing submittal of applications for all Cal Recycle grants. 3-5, approval mutual aid agreement between the city of Hanford and the city of Lemoore for fire and emergency services. 3-6, approval change order from Todd Companies for Bush Sewer Repair Project. 3-7, approval for change order from VSS International for the 2021 street maintenance slurry seal project. So would any member of council like to pull items 3-1 through 3-7? Seeing none, council? Oh, I'm sorry.
I think Marissa needs to pull 3-1 because there's an error in the minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, did Marissa pull that, I guess? And both of
Yeah,
them?
we're pulling 3-1 for a
So
correction.
the city pulled it? All right. Council was, were you guys done? Everybody?
I'm good.
Nobody wanted to pull anything else?
You can get a motion on 3-2.
I'll make the motion.
Well, don't we have to open that? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So go ahead and we're going to open it up to the public now. Does any members of the public have any consideration for 3-1 through 3-?
Do they want to pull any other items? 3-2, 3-7, 3-1's already pulled.
3-2 through 3-7. I thought you said 3-3 a second ago.
No, 3-1.
I got 3s on the brain. Nonetheless, no one has anything else to pull?
Mm-mm.
Looks like not. Okay. So we're gonna need a motion for 3-3 through 3-7.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Mrs. Matthews, I need a second.
I'll second it.
Yeah, I said 3-2. Mr. Orth. So Ms. Matthews, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Orth,
Aye.
Mr. Gorning,
All right,
Mr. Cheney.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So 3-2 through 7 passes. And 3-1, do we do a new motion with the approved minutes or the corrected minutes, or is that going to come back?
She'll tell you
Um,
what the correction is.
So there was a typo on the votes for item 4-1, but I printed a corrected version, so the mayor will have a correct version to sign if approved.
Zing.
What that was.
So the first, it was item 4-1, so the votes to deny the zoning amendment. It was sorry.
I got it. So the original vote had the ayes and nays correct. The second vote, when it came back for a second vote, had the
Deny.
ayes and noes incorrect. So the ayes on the second vote took that night were council members Gornick, Cheney, and Lyons, and the nays were council members Orth and Matthews. That was the correction.
Yeah. Okay, so, and we'll open that to the public as well. So. So do we vote on that?
Motion is
So
correct.
you can bring it back to council and Councilmember Orth, I think you just made a motion to approve the corrected version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a motion back to council, but I have a motion from Orth, looking for a second.
Second.
Mr. Gornick. So Mr. Orth,
Aye.
Mr. Gornick,
Aye.
Mr. Cheney,
Hi,
Mrs. Matthews.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. So the corrected version of 3-1 passes with some doing. And we have no public hearing, and we have no new business. So that's going to take us into the brief city council reports and requests. And does anyone want to go first? No, Mr. Orth, you get to go first.
I went to the county, my commission for public, Kings County Rural Area Rural Transit. And they told us the bridge replacement on 41 in Nevada has been pushed off. They were supposed to start in, I think, September. They're pushing it off for another year. It's going to be a very long process and something to do with environmental or something. So we get another year off of having to drive all the way to I-5 to go to the coast. So that's a good thing. That's a
There's
I think
better ways. than going all the way
16
to
week,
I-5.
I think they said 16-month project to replace that bridge at Nevada and 41. I want to thank the fire. They're not here, but they're always here in our hearts. For the great report about everything they do and getting us all to know. Thank the fire and the police. The police did a great job too. Thank everybody. And we got to support everybody and just do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gornick.
Yeah, a couple things. I've got some great concern about this potential feedlot and slaughterhouse that's proposed for the intersection of 41 and 198 adjacent to the city. And I think the city of Lemoore is in peril if we don't take that seriously. The developer is likes to get his way. And I think we have to kind of marshal our forces a little bit stronger in terms of showing our dissent for that project. We had a couple of citizens come up here the last meeting expressing their concerns, and I think it really would affect the quality of life in the city of Lemoore if that project goes through. So I'd like to see us at some point develop a strategy or have our city manager begin focusing on rallying some sympathetic forces. I know he's already had some work with that in terms of gathering some letters, but there may be more than just letters that we have to begin to focus on. And the same thing is true with respect to our water issues in Kings County. I've learned that one of the issues that's really percolating up right now, no pun intended, is the issue dealing with Sandridge and Boswell, and there's kind of a stalemate going on in the county with respect to who's going to do what. And It's my understanding that the county has had a number of, or I don't know how many, but they've had an opportunity before to establish resolutions or ordinances that water is not transferred out of the county, and it's failed. And I think our water is a precious commodity in the city of Lemoore and in Kings County. And I think we need to encourage our county leaders to take some proactive steps in that regard to avoid these kinds of issues in the future. And again, I'd like to have either bring some people in to educate us a little bit about that, but I know sitting on the groundwater board, that's an issue that's an agency also that has an opportunity to move forward on some ordinances to protect our water, our groundwater in the valley. So everybody seems to think that the water is divided by county boundaries all the way down to, and it's not. It's, one big bathtub underneath us, and everybody's got a straw in it. So we've got to protect it. That's it.
Mr. Cheney.
I just want to thank the police department and fire department for their hard work throughout the year, as well as the annual report that they gave us. They work very hard, and I just appreciate them. I appreciate the vote on page 2 also. But I do appreciate all their hard work. I appreciate all the hard work of the people, the city employees, supervisors, management. They keep this city afloat, and I appreciate everything they do. That's all.
And Mrs. Matthews.
To keep it brief, I will piggyback on everything my fellow council members have said. And also want to add that tonight, the LHS boys basketball are participating in the playoffs tonight. So good luck to them. Tomorrow, boys soccer's will also be in the playoffs as well. So good luck to them as well. And just, I know it's a little ways away, but mark your calendars, downtown Easter celebration for April 16th, which was downtown. It was really nice last year. Lots of people came out, so I'm looking forward to that. Also, I'm not sure why Mr. Cheney didn't talk about this, so I'll just talk about it for him. There is a blood drive on February 26th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at
Living Water
Living Water
Fellowship.
Fellowship.
Heifer Mill Road.
I know we talked last time about the blood drive that was at the police department. Because there were so many people, there were a lot of people turned away. So hopefully those that didn't get to donate then can make it to this drive and donate there, because the valley is in great need of blood right now. So if you're able to donate, please go out and do so. And that's all I have. Thank you, everyone.
And yeah, Mr. Orth, Mr. Gornick, Mr. Cheney, and Ms. Matthews, thank you all for your guys' time and dedication. Mr. Aaron Ash, it was nice to see him back in council chambers tonight. And Susie Benuelos, thank you for your comment, young lady. Nice to see you back at chambers, by the way. Mr. Reed, Chief Kendall, Chief German, you guys both gave really good reports, but I'm not going to admit to defeat. Mr. Kendall's report was really good. With that being said, the Lemoore Volunteer Fire Department is having a golf tournament. And they're for going for the blood drive, or they donate to the burn center at I forgot the name. I had my flyer, but I gave it to Chief.
The Leon Burns in Fresno.
It's okay. You don't have to get it out. So if you golf, go look for Lemoore Fire Department. I guarantee it's not hard to find on multiple sources of social media. And with that being said, thank you. Yeah.
I'd like to add something.
Yeah, add something. Go for it.
Hey, Nathan, can we add a agenda item to explain two parts, maybe at the next meeting. One, explaining how we can add, how citizens can add an agenda to it, so we can talk about it, especially for what happened today, because we all heard about it, we all know about it. We just can't talk about it. None of us made the rules up. We just gotta abide by it. But if we could figure out some way and maybe agendize her request, Mary, don't slap me, on the next meeting, so we can talk about it if it's possible. Can we do that, Mary?
So how about if I could make a recommendation?
Of course.
Could I do a presentation on the Public Records Act request?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Gornick?
Well, I wouldn't mind that at all. However, I'm still puzzled that why this council can't have a conversation about a public member's comments,
So,
even if they
and,
are not on the agenda.
right, and so I can also address some Brown Act concerns as well, or questions, related questions. If,
Well, I'm not so much interested in concerns. I'm interested in the law.
sure, and that is what the Brown Act is. It's the law. And so if I can also do a presentation on the Brown Act, that might be helpful. And the short answer is other members of the public may want to participate in that same discussion, and we need to give everybody the opportunity.
Right, and the mayor has the prerogative to limit the discussion and set time limits on doing that.
Correct. Yeah. When we do comments, for example, you have a 3-minute
Right.
public comment period. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying. we
Yeah,
have
it needs to be
abandon that and
reasonable.
open it up to everybody who wants to
Yeah.
talk. Yeah,
Yeah. So if I could make that recommendation, I would like to do a presentation on the Brown Act and a presentation on the Public Records Act.
Oh, yeah. Brown Act, that's fun.
But also, can we, I guess what my question is more kind of going with what Mr. Gornick said is, I understand that we have to agendize something so we can talk about it.
no, not necessarily.
We-
There is nothing in the law that says we have to do that.
What? Okay. We don't want to deprive the public of the opportunity to participate.
The public is participating at the podium.
Others
Others.
that may be interested in the same topic.
But that's a
Exactly.
That's a different topic. But in terms of responding to a public member who comes to the podium, we can have a discussion, a limited one. if the
You
mayor
can
wants.
you can give brief direction, brief comments. So you could say, city manager, please contact this person and update them. Or if the light's out, city manager, please contact Public
Oh,
Works or
I'd like
Public
to
Works.
hear- I'd like to hear our policy about that from the chief and from the city manager.
Sure, just briefly, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that having a discussion about Brown Act and procedure would be helpful if that's council's desire.
That's basically, because we all heard about it. We all know about it. Everyone knows what's going on. And we just want everyone in the public to know, we all know, we have the answer. We just can't give the answer in this forum. That's his forum, and it should be our forum, but we can't. So what I'm thinking.
To a
is-
certain degree, council member, you could say, Ms. Lerner, can you give the short answer of what the Public Records Act requires? And I would say, we need to be custodian of record in order to produce it under the Public Records Act. And so that would be the short answer. Quick answer, no discussion. In addition to, the city manager could also follow up with a discussion with the resident.
I would love for the city attorney to educate us on this, and I agree. We should have a discussion under your facilitation.
You know what struck out to me in this report? The police the chief report on our report identified, I think it was 49 sexual offenders this year, right? So we don't have the opportunity, according to the way we're operating, to post those mugshots. Okay.
No, there is,
They're on Megan.
there's a website.
They're required to register. on
There's a
Megan.
website.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know that. I
and-
know that. I'm talking about what happened with the
Right.
newspaper. Okay.
And I can give an update on that,
But my
Councilmember
point
Gornick.
to you is, we're talking about public safety, okay? If you see something, say something, okay? That's all I'm talking about. It's a small community. And if that is out there to help law enforcement in any way, I just think that sometimes we allow the laws or the interpretation of the laws to make us behave stupidly.
So council, I'll do as directed and I'll prepare a presentation on the Brown Act and on the Public Records Act.
Right,
Very nice.
Thank you.
very nice.
Good enough.
With that, we're adjourned. Boom.